Wonderful. Well, good morning. Thanks for being here. This week, we are working with how to work with joy, I think. We've got a lot of things coming at us from all directions, financially, health wise, culturally, in our country, politically. I mean, we just have like lots and lots of things going on that could very easily bring us down. And I think for many of us who are kind of doing the self work of spirituality and are kind of on our path to try to heal both ourselves and the world. And ideally, that exists as kind of one continuum. As we heal ourselves, the world is also healed. As the world heals, we also heal as individuals. So I think that's really one journey. But what I wanted to focus on was a quote from Joseph Campbell, who's one of my favorites. He says, "We cannot cure the world of sorrows, but we can choose to live in joy." And this kind of reminded me of, most of us that are alive today remember where we were when 9/11 happened, another great tragedy in our culture. And I remember being sad and scared and having all these heavy emotions. And of course, every channel that you turned on, every radio that you listened to, it was everywhere. It was really an unescapable thing, kind of like the situation we're in now. And I tried to kind of follow the Mr. Rogers advice of look for the helpers. And what I saw come out of this very sad and challenging event, what I chose to focus on was how many people were coming together and how in many ways it strengthened our community, especially in New York City, where strangers were helping strangers and people were putting their personal agendas or their personal safety aside in order to join with other people who needed help in that moment or during that time. And so even though it didn't, that joy or that connection that I was witnessing and choosing to focus on didn't take away the idea that this terrible thing had happened, this tragedy had happened, but it did allow me to shift my point of view. We talk about that a lot in my classes, that pratipakshapavanam of cultivating the opposite idealized point of view, which I think is important to distinguish from what's called spiritual bypassing. Where we're just like, oh no, everything's gonna be fine, it's cool. And it's like not dealing at all with the immense amount of grief that's happening. I think it's important to embrace that grief and really kind of lean into it, allow it to flow through you. It's when we sort of, kind of pretend like it's not happening and everything's fine, that a lot of that stuff kind of builds up inside of us. And it's better to focus on the positive. And as the, heavier feelings come through, sort of let the power of that flow of emotion help us to turn that corner. So actually utilizing our pain and our grief and our sadness and our anger at injustices that are happening and allow that to fuel us into a place where we work harder toward union, we work harder toward connection. So we cannot cure the world of sorrows, but we can choose to live in joy. And so what I thought we'd do is just kind of finding our comfortable seat. However that looks for you, feel free to use any blankets or padding or support underneath your hips. And just allow sort of the heaviness that we sometimes feel in our bodies as we experience grief or disturbances of the mind, just kind of allow that to anchor you. Allowing that heaviness to settle into the lower part of the body, it provides us with a sense of grounding. And just like, when lightning strikes, we place these lightning towers to actually attract the lightning, because we can pull it down into a safe space rather than it, striking a tree and starting a fire or something like that. So just maybe allow any heavy feelings that you've been experiencing over the last few weeks or months or days to just kind of invite it in. Just allow it to come in, flowing down into that root center and allowing it to be grounded in a safe space. Just to take this time in the quiet and stillness of our bodies to feel with intention. And then we'll start a breathing exercise that allows us to sort of sip in as much joy as we can. And then when we exhale, we're gonna sort of let go of that heaviness and allow it to flow through us, which doesn't mean that we've ignored it. We've just allowed it to move on through. So the breath exercise is a 3-part inhale. So it's 3 stages, and then a very long and complete exhale. So we're kind of filling like upper chest, belly, and then low belly with our breath in, and then a full breath from the low belly up and out. So and ideally, as we get to that top of that 3rd inhale, we're filled completely to the brim with breath. And then as we release, we start at the base and just fully empty the body so that we can take in those 3 big breaths again. So we'll just take a few more rounds like that. And just sort of release the breath practice and just allow your breath to soften. Notice if there's any sensations of maybe lightheadedness or invigorating feeling. Just kind of notice what the effect of that breathing is on your body, on your mind. And then we're going to bring some arm movements into this 3-part inhale. So just seated, we'll practice. The first inhale, arms come kind of up in front of you at shoulder height. The second inhale, we open wide. The third inhale, we sweep up. And with our exhale, we just sort of drop the arms. And so we're gonna be careful not to, smack our hands on the floor, but just kind of like let it flow out. So that's the motion. 2 more. And just rest the hands again. Again, just notice the feeling that flows after that breathing exercise. With the arms included, that's referred to as the breath of joy. Maybe we feel a little clearer, maybe we feel a little bit more open through our nasal passages, maybe we feel a little bit more alive in the body. There's some blood circulating through the arms and hands now. And so just kind of keeping that sense of openness. We're going to take a few more little stretches here before we find our first stillness poses. So kind of sweeping one arm up and over and pressing into the floor with the bottom hand, and then just finding some gentle motions, whether this is kind of a little forward and back, or whether it's just the top arm that's moving, maybe the head and neck also get involved. But feel one side of your body open wide, kind of leaning outside of what is kind of pummeling at us, and kind of reaching for that joy or reaching for that happiness that we can still find even in times of trouble. Inhale, come back to center, and then we'll try that other side. So inhaling the other arm up and over, pressing into the floor to open the side body. And then again, just experimenting with some movement. Just notice how awareness and aliveness move through your body. There is a simple joy in just sitting with your breath and recognizing and really sitting with your own aliveness. And then eventually winding that motion up, coming back to our seated place. We're gonna find our first stillness pose. And since you have a bolster, I'm gonna grab my bolster too, rather than the pillows. So those who are watching this later, if you don't have a yoga bolster, you can just use 2 bed pillows instead. So we're gonna set the bolster up behind us and just bring one hip. I'm starting with my left, just in case I confuse you with lefts and rights, but you can start with either side. So the hip's gonna come to that short edge, and then we're gonna set up the legs in a deer twist motion. So this could look like the right knee kind of coming into the left curve of the foot. If it's more comfortable, you can also stack the shins, and in which case, if you're bony like me, it might feel good to have a little padding between your bones. And First, we're gonna just reach my left hand over towards the bolster and just kind of lean my right ear towards my right shoulder. So I'm getting a nice long stretch all the way from the fingertips up to the bottom of the left ear. And again, maybe the head finds some gentle nodding. And then allowing that left elbow to drop onto the bolster, we're gonna reach up and over with the right hand and just open up that right side body one more time. You might feel your right hip kind of popping up and off the floor as you reach the right hand up and over. And I'm just gonna settle that right hand down next to the bolster, supporting yourself, and then bringing your left hand to the other side, pressing into the left hand to kind of twist the heart a little bit more towards the bolster. Take a big inhale and lift and lengthen, open your whole front body, and then exhale. See if you can keep that length as you come down to rest on the bolster. Once your torso is down, you kind of shake out the arms and relax the hands. You can turn the hands palms down for a sense of grounding if that's helpful. Maybe you need a place to send your grief that's safe, or anger. If you're feeling a little bit more peaceful, you might turn the palms up and just kind of open yourself up to unexpected joy. Just opening your heart up as you lean into the bolster, allowing yourself to feel supported. Allowing yourself to let go and finding a sense of change or transformation happening in the body. So we began kind of pulling ourselves out of our comfort zones, like leaning to each side. And now that we've kind of settled in, the idea is to completely let go of any control of where that energy that's flowing through us is going. So whether that energy that's coming in feels happy and positive like joy, or whether that emotion that's flowing through us is a little bit more heavy in nature, we're allowing that to flow through us. And definitely taking several big breaths. Maybe they're not right next to each other, but throughout the holding of this pose, take some big breaths in and just let yourself again feel that fullness, feel that abundance flowing through you. And as you exhale, surrender a little bit more. Just allow that energy to flow through you where it's most needed. Nishila Joy Devi's translation of the Yoga Sutras is definitely one of my favorites, and her interpretation of Yoga Sutra 129 is, by faithful repetition or by dedicated practice, which we'd call abhyasa, the inner light luminously shines. And so the idea here is to connect to the breath, connect to awareness, connect to the aliveness that is within us, and just allow that open heart to allow the light that is within you to shine through. Letting go to where you think that light needs to go, or where you think your service needs to go, and just allowing it to find its way to a safe and peaceful ground. By keeping ourselves grounded, we can allow that lightning to flow through us, knowing that it will land safely and in the appropriate place. That our passion would then not cause destruction, that our grief or our anger could be something that is celebrated and used to bring justice, to bring joy, to bring connection. Just kind of feel that turning within. And take about 5 more breaths. When you're ready to come out of your shape, just turn your palms down if they're not already, and press into the floor to rise up. So we're gonna basically just set ourselves up by turning the other hip to the bolster. I'm gonna turn this way so I can still see the camera, but so the other hip is coming to the short edge of the bolster now. That might just look like turning yourself on your mat. And again, setting up our legs for that deer shape in the body. So we got our comfortable base of support, And then putting the right hand now on the bolster and then just leaning the left ear towards the left shoulder, kind of reaching the fingertips for that far edge and reaching left ear to left shoulder. We can feel that opening happening all the way from fingertips to the bottom of the right ear. Maybe there's a little movement here. Maybe there's stillness so we can observe. Whatever keeps you most connected to sensation is sort of the right path for you here. And eventually letting that right elbow drop onto the bolster. The left arm is going to kind of reach up and overhead. And again, maybe there's some movement here. Maybe we're just reaching and feeling that side of the body open up. We can start to feel that left hip starting to come up and away from the floor. And then the left hand's going to come to one side of the bolster, steadying us as we bring our other hand to the other side, turning the heart, maybe pressing into the right hand and deepen that twist. Lift and open up your heart, open your throat, and then surrender that down. Kind of find your relaxed position where you can let go to the support of your bolster, your props. And again, palms up or palms down, just kind of notice what feels most natural to you. Whether in this moment your feelings flowing through you are in need of safe grounding or whether you are open. There's no right or wrong, just kind of noticing and working with that energy. Staying with your breath. And starting to feel that aliveness that flows through you, finding its appropriate path. So as we continue to observe, that's that devoted practice or that sort of committed devotional practice that was talked about in the sutras. This is how we allow the light to shine. When we are bogged down by heavy feelings, when we are not directing our anger or our strong emotions with any kind of awareness, they can cause destruction. And so when we just soften into this practice, when we are devoted to allowing this practice to flow through rather than getting stuck anywhere, we allow that light to shine more fully. And it feels good to be alive inside. It feels good to be connected to that light that's within you. But it also feels good knowing that that light is shining out. We've all had those moments where we've just had a tough moment, and maybe it's even a stranger, maybe it's someone we love, but a simple smile or a touch can really help to allow our own light to shine. So by someone shining their light has helped us, or maybe we've been the light for someone else. So we're just gonna kind of focus on practicing that one thing, how we can allow that aliveness, that awareness, that passion to flow through us and ground itself in a way that is well received and appropriate. Just about 3 or 4 more breaths on this side. And again, as you're ready, palms can come down to support us and just pressing your way back up. Untwisting the body, we'll face away from our prop for just a moment. And just kind of leaning back into the hands, just taking a little bit of cat-cow here. Only we're gonna try to reverse that direction. So as we inhale, chin is gonna come in towards the chest, shoulders are gonna come forward, and we're filling up the back body with our inhale. As we exhale, we're gonna lift and open the heart, lifting the chin to also open the throat and pull the shoulders back. So it's a little of a reverse from how we normally practice this. But as we inhale, we want to see and focus on how we are being filled up, how that energy is flowing through us, the abundance of aliveness within. And then as we exhale, we're going to shine that out, allowing our light to shine, allowing our voice to be heard and utilized. So just taking a few more of those. And then pausing With our backs up against the short edge of our bolster or the short edge of our pillows, we might choose to unroll a towel or blanket so that we can roll it up to support ankles. We're gonna find a bound angle shape. So soles of the feet are gonna come together, and we can either have that support just underneath the knees, or for a little bit more support, I find this a little bit more comfortable, placing that roll on top of your feet and then kind of pulling that blanket or towel into a little smile shape so that it supports underneath the shins and ankles. So once you find your comfortable space for your legs and feet, we're gonna recline over our support here and just allow that shining to flood out from the heart. Maybe we can also find a little micro lift in the chin so that the head is relaxed but the throat is soft and open. Shoulders can roll over the side, palms can face up here, just feeling as open as we can, both through the hips, the heart, the throat, the mind. And we're gonna flow back into that 3-part breath. We can just leave the arms still here. But sipping in air in 3 ways, so upper chest, middle of the belly, and then filling up the low belly last, and then exhaling from the base back upward. Maybe another round or so of that 3-part inhale, 1 long exhale. And then we're gonna release the 3-part segmented breath, but just, everybody's muted, so if you would like, maybe taking that big full breath in one go, and then as you exhale, maybe just allowing a hum or an ah sound to release from the mouth. So we're kind of opening up and engaging with that voice, that throat center, our expression of self. So as we sip in that huge amount of aliveness, awareness, of love, of compassion, and then just kind of or back out. As we begin to use this voice or this connection we have to our expression becomes clearer. As we sort of use our breath to clear out our energy centers, we invite in that wholeness, that connection that we have to all other human beings, all other living things, to our planet. And as we release that out with clarity, our voices join together and we begin to sort of replicate the Om. We begin to see ourselves as that manifestation of wholeness, each of us playing our part. Just allowing that flow of light out. Maybe we can imagine the ribs kind of spreading and more light coming out through that open space between the ribs. Maybe we can feel that elongation and spaciousness between the pubic bone and the bottom of the ribs, and we can kind of feel that light sort of unimpeded, just shining out from our being. Maybe we can feel the light shining out from our own face, knowing that even as we make mistakes and we incur our own sorrows, or as we witness the sorrow, the hardship, or the challenge of others, that we are still, all of us, a piece of that divine oneness. That light shines within all of us, even when it's obscured by our behaviors or by our grief or our anger. That light is always present, always within. We'll take 3 more breaths in this shape. then beginning to gently close the space between the knees, bringing the soles of the feet to the floor. You might press into the feet and just gently lift the sacrum, give a little reprieve from that compression in the low back. And then either using the hands to press yourself up or maybe rolling to one side to come off your bolster and rising. We're gonna take one more shape before we find our standing poses. So we can set aside our prop for now. We might keep that rolled towel or blanket if you were using it to place underneath your knees. We're gonna extend the legs forward. And we did a little bit of this last week, but I wanna just briefly kind of engage or maybe feel a thumb or a fingertip inside that willpower center just underneath the bottom of the ribs. And while we're kind of lifted up and kind of opened and engaged through the upper body, just feel the tension there. It shouldn't feel like a rock hard brick, like it's protective or engaged in fight or flight, but it also shouldn't feel just like soft and too vulnerable. So we're gonna feel just a medium amount of engagement in the core center there. And then inhaling to lift and lengthen, kind of creating that channel of energy in the body. We're just gonna keep our flat back as we lean forward over the legs. We might walk our sitting bones back a little bit here and just take a few breaths in this engaged forward fold. Flat back, chin might be slightly tucked. And then as we did with our cat-cow, we're gonna kind of reverse that direction. So as we inhale next, we're gonna lift and open the back body. Chin's gonna come in towards the chest. And as we exhale, just kind of fold forward a little bit. Take that a few times. So inhaling to open the back body, exhaling to gently fold, and maybe each exhale we only move like a little nanometer forward, but kind of keep that movement flowing until you feel like you can just kind of relax into the fold. This is us sort of surrendering our way and just allowing and trusting that that energy that's flowing through us, whether it's a heavy feeling or a light feeling, is cleared to just flow through. Each exhale, we can let go of our holding, of that protection. And just allow that unmitigated joy to flow through us, that is possible to be joyful in hard times. Last couple of breaths here. Maybe bigger inhales to open the back body. Longer exhales to engage in that letting go. Then lifting up and out of the fold and rising back up. We can draw the soles of the feet back to the floor. We can set aside any remaining props that we were using. And then we're just gonna rise up to a standing shape. So we're gonna take a Tadasana at the top of the mat. And move back into that breath of joy. So first kind of finding that lift in the lengthening of the spine. And again, our first inhale looks like arms coming straight forward at shoulder height. Next inhale, arms come wide. Next inhale, arms sweep up and overhead. And then we'll take a fold. So that's the motion. We'll take a few of these breaths of joy just to get the hang of it. And on our third time that our arms come up, as we exhale, we're gonna fold all the way forward. So first round. Last time, we're gonna fold this time. Whoops, I got mixed up. And then take your fold forward. So we're just kind of hanging here. And that same letting go position, floor is just in a different spot now. Kind of releasing and letting go. Palms are gonna come down to the earth, so you might bend at the knees. And we're gonna take a little step back with that left leg. So heel might come down to the floor, heel might also be raised here. We're gonna lift the torso up to find a warrior one, or if your heel is lifted, we're gonna find that crescent lunge. We're gonna try to humble the body. So this is the, letting that heaviness of any feeling in the body just to kind of sink down and be grounded. And then we're gonna lift and open the heart. Again, the throat might come a little open. Arms can be raised here. And just kind of feel the strength of your feet, feel that grounding, feel your fingertips, the crown of your head is that lightning rod. Just allow that energy to flow through you and meet the earth. And then on your next inhale, we're gonna straighten that right leg. As we exhale, arms are gonna come down either to hips or sacrum. You can also interlace fingers or grasp for opposite elbows, but the chin is gonna lift a little bit higher. We're gonna see if we can just kind of engage in the wonder of the grandness, the very vast scale of the universe in which we find ourselves, the wholeness of everything that is. And kind of gazing out onto that and just inviting it into our open hearts. Just feeling the joy of being part of that wholeness. Take one more really big breath in, lifting your heart. As you exhale, release your hands, fold over that right leg. Hands might come to thigh or to shin. It might also come to the floor if that's comfortable. And we're gonna cat arch to the spine. So now we're looking inward. And ideally, we should be able to find that same wholeness, that vast universe that we saw, quote unquote, outside of ourselves. And we now see that mirrored on the inside of ourselves. And so we surrender that individuality and begin to connect to the light that is everywhere, seeing that same light within ourselves. Starting to bend into that right knee. Hands are gonna walk a little forward on the mat. And as we inhale, we're gonna lift that left leg up off the floor. So it might be a little ways off the floor, it might be a standing split, but take a moment to find that balance, humbling yourself. And then letting the left foot step next to the right again, taking that deep forward fold, maybe find a little bounce, kind of shake out the body a little bit. Then slowly lifting the back of the heart, that cat arch of the spine, rolling our way back up to Tadasana. We're gonna find 3 rounds of that breath of joy again. And on our 3rd round, when we finally take that exhale, we'll find our fold again. So first round. And folding. Finding that surrender, letting go to the situation. There have been so many times in my life where I could have been really angry and instead I was really happy. If you can connect to something like that where you caught yourself in the rain, you don't have an umbrella, and instead of being super crappy about it, you just kind of started like stopping in puddles on purpose and just letting it go. You know, this is what it is to not be able to cure the world of sorrows, but to be able to choose joy. So sending your weight into your left foot, we're gonna step back with the right this time. And again, we can ground that heel or leave it lifted. And then on an inhale, we're rising up into either a warrior one or that crescent lunge shape. Grounding down through the hips and just kind of letting whatever sorrow or heaviness ground you. And then once that's there, choosing to lift the heart, lifting the mind, and just kind of opening yourself up to allowing that energy to flow through you. Trusting that it will ground itself safely. That when we choose joy, even in the face of great challenge or anger or sorrow, we allow that passion to make us feel alive. Take 2 more breaths. Get really steady and grounded through your feet. Invite that energy to flow down into the earth. And then inhale to straighten that left leg. Our heart is gonna lift a little higher. Hands might come down again to behind the back or behind the sacrum. Lifting your throat, lifting your heart open. Just observe with great wonder the vastness of the whole universe. Feel every aspect. Birth, sustaining of life, death, creation, destruction. Just feel the wholeness of all of that. It doesn't disclude or exclude anything. It is everything that is. One more big breath to sip that whole universe into your heart. And then as you exhale, finding that fold over the left leg again. Letting that cat arch come back to the spine. Supporting yourself with your hands wherever feels most appropriate to you. And keeping that gaze inward to connect to that same wholeness
that is within us. Surrendering ourselves as a piece of that wider puzzle. And what a joy it is to belong. What a joy it is to connect. What a joy it is to be alive and feel that breath moving through your body. Bending into that left knee, you can walk your hands forward to kind of catch yourself on the mat. As you inhale, right leg lifts to the capacity that feels good to you. And then allowing right foot to place next to the left and hanging in our fold again. Bringing both palms to the mat, so knees are bent here. We're going to step back with both feet and find downward facing dog. In an effort to maintain that wholeness or that connection, we're going to gather up the strength of all who have ever practiced downward facing dog. Whatever their intentions, whether it was a healthier body, a more aligned mind, a greater spirituality, whatever their intentions were, just allow and breathe in the wholeness of this discipline. The joy of being part of a community. Then as you exhale, we're going to start to shift the weight forward into a plank shape, so knees can be on or off, but we're going to hold here for 3 breaths. Engage that willpower center. Feel that lifting up even as your body is kind of pushing down. Exhale and come to the belly on the mat. Inhale, find a big lift, so cobra, up dog, or maybe a sphinx pose here, but let your heart shine forward. Lift and open your throat. Exhale, release back down, tuck your toes, downward facing dog. Keeping the gaze inward, collecting yourself with that whole collective of people working toward changing themselves, toward changing the world. Let all of that just breathe into your body. Let it fuel you. Exhale, find plank. Maybe we lift one leg and then the other. Maybe we just stay steady. On an exhale, finding your way down to the belly on the mat. On an inhale, finding your open heart, open throat shape. One more breath in here, feel your fullness. Exhale, release, and pressing back up, downward facing dog. Just kind of noticing the fullness of the back body. Feel a little bit of that engagement in your willpower. We're going to do a little bit of hard work here. So inhale and lift your right leg. Exhale, pull it in towards the nose. So we're inhaling to lift, exhaling to coil in. 2 more. This time as you exhale, go ahead and step that right foot forward and drop your left knee. So left hand is staying grounded here. And again, we're going to find that twist. So we're allowing that energy to flow into our heart, and then either pressing right hand into the right thigh, maybe we reach back, maybe we grasp for that left foot, maybe arm is just open. Feel your heart twisting to the right. Feel that sinking down through the hips, grounding those heavy emotions so that we can lift up and out through the heart. Maybe there's a little chin lift here through the throat as well. Next, exhale, both hands coming inside that right foot, turning towards a skandasana shape. Maybe kind of rising and falling here as we bend and straighten that right knee a little bit. Then starting to center ourselves into a wide leg forward fold on the mat. Arranging your feet however feels good to you. Hands or fingertips can be on the floor, kind of reaching the tailbone back and the crown forward. Nice long spine. And then exhaling again to find that surrender. See if you can keep the backs of the knees soft even as your feet stay firmly planted. How can we let go a little bit more? How can we just trust that energy to flow through us, to feel alive? Bending at the knees, find your way back up to a standing wide-legged shape.
Point your right toes towards the front of your mat. Inhale, arms come out nice and wide. Exhale, reach, and let's find our way into triangle. So here we have sort of a variation. We had us looking up at the stars, kind of looking up at the universe, and now we just have our heart open, fingertips on the left side as a lightning rod, just allowing that energy to flow through us and down into the feet, into the earth. One more breath, and then exhale that left hand over towards the right foot. We're gonna step forward again, finding our forward fold. Both hands coming back to the mat here, and then stepping back with both feet again, downward facing dog. We're gonna find that same core flow here on our left side. So first establishing that down dog, connecting to everybody who's ever done this shape with their body, connecting to their intentions, connecting to all of it, letting it be one big movement. And then inhale, left leg rises. Exhale, knee to nose. 4 more like that. And then stepping that left foot forward between the hands, let your right knee drop. Grounding through your right hand, twisting open to the left this time. So again, left hand might be on thigh. We might reach back, we might grasp for the right foot. Maybe we're just open wide. Find that lift in the heart, that lift in the chin. Feel your sorrows and whatever heavy emotions in the hips just kind of sinking down as you lift and open through the upper body. Even with heavy emotions, we can keep our heart open. Maybe, if you dare, you can smile in this shape. One more breath in. And then exhaling, both hands coming inside. We're again finding that little Skandasana shape. So turning to extend the right leg. Maybe we're lifting and lowering through that left side. And walking hands again to the center of your mat, finding that wide-legged shape. Find your nice long spine first, and exhale to let yourself kind of fall forward. How can we stay grounded and centered even as we sort of release or let go? Rising back up to our standing wide-legged fold. We're going to turn the left toes toward the top of the mat again. Inhale to the arms opening wide, big open heart, and then falling into our triangle pose on this side. The right hand is now a lightning rod. Our heart is open. We're grounded and strong through the feet. We're elongating, still finding that space in the belly and through the length of the spine. Just a few more breaths here. And then as you exhale, that left hand can come sweeping down. We're going to frame the left toes and step back again, downward facing dog. Take 3 big breaths in here. Maybe we do that 3-part inhale. And on our last breath out, we're just going to let the knees drop and take some child's pose time. So knees can be narrow or wide as your body requests. And ideally, we're kind of turning inward. So chin is a little more towards the chest as you settle into child's pose. take any position that feels good for your arms, whether that's reaching to the top of the mat, arms alongside the body, or maybe finding that little arch, or excuse me, palms touching and then they come up and overhead. And settle on sort of the faithful repetition of your breathing. That even as we release our burdens with our exhales, even as we let go of holding the weight of our own challenging feelings, even as we are engaged in that act of letting go, the next breath is ready to replenish us, to fill us back up with abundance. Take about 3 or 4 more breaths here. And coming gently up and out of your child's pose shape, we're going to eventually find our way to our resting pose here in the next few moments, but feel free to take any remaining stretches, to move in any way that you need to feel neutralized, to connect again to your breath, to gather any props that might be useful. And then as you're ready, just settling deeply into stillness. Sometimes when feelings of grief or anger are really powerful, the best thing for us to do is find stillness and quiet and acknowledge those feelings. Sometimes it is to find that safe outlet, a way to express those heavier feelings in a way that is non-harming. But either way, what is required is to allow whatever we are feeling to pass through us and not to become stuck or lodged. So as you settle into your final shape for the day, start to settle your body. Maybe we take a few of those rounds of 3-part inhales and a long, deep exhale, a very complete exhale. And this is where we sort of make that request of our breath, or at least observe within the powerful flow of our breath to just be purified, to allow whatever feelings we have, whatever sensations that arise in us to be there, and to joyfully find that this is part of being human, just to joyfully accept the wholeness of our range of human emotions. To receive the wisdom of our sorrow, to receive the righteousness of our anger, to acknowledge whatever is within us is actually in some way an expression of that wholeness and that light that is within. I don't remember who said it, but it was something to the effect of, to be brokenhearted is not a sad thing. It means you have given everything to something. That you have given yourself fully to an emotion, to a relationship, to an experience. And to feel and allow that kind of power to flow through you is an amazing part of being human. So just find your stillness, find the joy of just breathing. Find the joy of being alive. Find the joy of the range of human emotions and experiences. Find the joy of being connected to all living things through our breath, through our awareness, through our appreciation of the full spectrum of aliveness, of awareness. Om Shuddhi Datta Ganga Mata Namo Namo 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 Let the level of your awareness be devotional, committed, giving yourself entirely over to the practice of observation, the flow of breath in, the flow of breath out. the rise and fall of our moods and our feelings, the levels of intensity of our joy, of our sorrow, rising and falling, always in a state of flux, is its own kind of aliveness. Just rest in the peace of accepting all states of being as being part of that wholeness, which is our birthright, which is our true identity, our Satnam. As your breath moves, feel the different places in the body, maybe the belly, the throat, the shoulders, the air flowing through the nostrils. Just feel all the places where you can feel that breath moving. Tying that aliveness to awareness. And then feel that awareness in every sector of the body. Start to feel each thread of nerve ending, where it's moving in the body, where there is awareness, where there is presence. And just feel the simple joy of being alive and being aware of your aliveness. Maybe some of that awareness of aliveness begins to manifest as little gentle movements in the fingers or the toes. Maybe the head begins to gently turn, or we find other ways of that aliveness coming to sort of a physical manifestation. Now allow the breath to continue to deepen as those manifestations of aliveness continue to grow less and less subtle. Maybe we find a big wide stretch or a long stretch or some kind of return fully into the body. See if you can engage your whole body in some way. And taking your time to arrive, maybe curling into a ball, rolling to your side, or just finding your way from wherever you are back into your upright seat. And then as you arrive in that upright state, we'll take 3 more rounds of that breath of joy. So first, finding that tall spine, just open that channel and begin to invite in that breath and invite that breath to flow back out without holding. And we'll move through 3 rounds of our breath of joy. Inhaling forward, inhaling out, inhaling up, and exhaling to release. 2 more like that. And this time bringing the palms together and drawing that in towards the heart center. Gaze also goes inward. Take a moment again just to feel the aliveness in you. Feel the breath flowing in and out as a continuous motion. Your body, your mind, your personal identity, just a temporary construct for this infinite energy, this wholeness and joy of exuberance to flow through you. We offer our practice today in service of joy, in service of wholeness, in service and reclaiming our birthright to the truth of who we are, that Sat Chit Ananda, the truth of our bliss consciousness. And as our light begins to shine more fully, we begin to heal and invite others into that healing. And so we close our practice with this prayer. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May all beings be happy, healthy, safe, and free. Namaste.